Hey, and welcome to the podcast. Before we start today, this podcast will include a moderately intoxicated host who will be drinking before the podcast and during the podcast. So prepare for a shitload of swearing and yeah. Hosting today, we have myself, Boomer, and my bottle of Jim Beam. We also have Allout, who's coming in later. We have Dingo and DarkKitrist. Right now, we're gonna discuss the Automatron, or how's it actually pronounced?
Automatron. Repeat after me. Automatron. There you go.
Okay.
Automatron.
Good kangaroo.
Automatron DLC.
That's even worse.
Now, we actually have people who've all played it once. That's a good start. We've all played the Automatron DLC. So
yeah, I think this is the one thing we actually get to talk about today that we have all played.
Yeah.
Which is kind of impressive. So, I mean, my opinion of Automatron was overall pretty positive. I liked it. I thought it was fun. It fell short in a couple areas, but it's still overall positive. I wound up giving it, I think, a 78%. So, close to an 8 out of 10. I liked it. I had fun. I am definitely looking forward to, in my new playthrough that I have to start over from scratch, I'm looking forward to getting to the Automatron part of the game.
And this is a topic we're going to discuss later, but it's going to be heavily impacting survival mode. I'll get into that later, but my opinions of DLC so far is it's great. The gameplay is great. The story is its Achilles heel. It's not necessarily long enough, and it's it could be much more well developed, but it's a very short quest line, which is unfortunate. It's actually a pretty damn good DLC.
And that's one of my bones to pick with it. No, I was just going to say that I'm agreeing with you. That's one of my bones to pick. The story, it's solid, it's fun. I like what's there. I just wanted more. Like, it's just as it starts to ramp up, it ends, and you're like, I want more.
Spoiler. Spoiler here.
Yeah.
But imagine if you defeated the Mechanist, but it turned out like a terrible 1950s comic, where it's just like, this is just the beginning, Batman. The story goes on.
Yeah, and the Mechanist keeps popping up. That would have been brilliant. That's something that I would have really enjoyed. I would have liked to have explored the Mechanist history a little more outside of terminals. Like, you find out about a lot of the Mechanist from either from the Mechanist mouth itself or from terminals. I would have liked to have, gone out, talked to people that the Mechanist has affected, and I don't know. I just think that they could have done something different with the character.
Yeah, especially when you come into the main building of the Mechanist. Yeah, you see all those jars with brains and everything.
Yes.
They could have really, really, really expanded the story. Seriously. They had all the building blocks, and it just ended.
Now, you bring up something I really want to point out, and I forgot to mention the last couple times we tried recording this, and that is the Mechanist lair. I think that is one of the things that absolutely made this DLC for me. That is hands down one of the best dungeons in Fallout 4, period, in my opinion. It was perfect. I loved it.
Just
opening the doors.
And there's like so many layers. It was like...
See, I love that. That to me was like, oh, this is so cool. What is in here?
Yeah, for the first time.
No, I loved it every time. I'm a little kid though, so that kind of shit. Gimmicks get me sometimes. But I just mean, like, the traps were brilliant. The bots were they threw like 100 bots at you, so it wasn't so hard that it was a tedious chore, but it wasn't so easy that you could just, la-di-da-di-da, boom, la-di-da-di-da, boom. No, you had to kind of take your time, even on, I like to, when I'm reviewing, I like to scale through the difficulties just to find out what it's like playing on the different difficulties, and it scales pretty well. It does a good job of challenging you at every level. And I love that about it. The lair just felt like a villain's lair.
Although the Mechanist isn't actually a villain, and he doesn't actually try to be a villain. He's just misunderstood.
That's part of why I think it's great, though, because it builds up. You think you're going to have this epic showdown, and Mechanist isn't quite the bad guy. So
Yeah.
I like that. Another place I think, and you guys unfortunately have heard me rant about this a couple times now, but the biggest gripe that I have with Automatron is it's actually a fairly small thing. A lot of users don't have an issue with it, but the way Automatron works is you go out, you fight robots, and occasionally, randomly, you find other robot parts on robots, which you can then use to take back to your settlement and modify your own robots. So, if you find a pair of, say, Assaultron legs on an Assaultron, you can take them back and stick them on Codsworth, and suddenly that hot little thing's got legs now. Yes, I just said that. It's a joke, guys. It's a joke. I prefer Codsworth without legs. No, but after you beat the mechanic, well, it's random, so there's no for sure way to track them all down. You just have to keep playing. When you beat the Mechanist, though, the game just sits there and says, hey, have everything. You get all of the parts now. And to me, that was really disappointing for two reasons. One, it absolutely wrecked the immersion. And the thing is, it's the conclusion to a story, like you're really into it, and then all of a sudden, you've been given all the robot mods, and it's like, well, fuck, that killed the immersion. Thanks for reminding me I'm playing a game. I was having fun in the story. But worse, it just felt patronizing. It felt like Bethesda saying, Dingo, you're too fucking dumb to find these on your own. Let's just give them to you because fuck you. It's an issue that I have, and I mean, New Vegas did it. We talked about Honest Hearts. Honest Hearts is probably the biggest perpetrator of it, where it doesn't matter what ending you decide to go with in Honest Hearts. They give you this box full of all of the goodies at the end. Anyway, so basically, but right before you get to that box, all of the NPCs sat there, stripped out of their clothes, and said, "Here, you can have these because fuck you. You don't deserve them. You didn't earn them. We're just going to give them to you because you're playing a video game, and we want you to make sure you understand that."
Yeah, and also if they wouldn't give you all the stuff at the end, it would extend the DLC itself.
Exactly. It would give me a reason to continue
killing robots. Killing
one
robots.
One of the fun parts was getting these random and possibly extremely deadly robots attacking your settlements. I mean, I loved it. They attacked my little shack settlement that I had not developed at all, right next to the ironworks foundry. I'm like, shit. Exploding cars everywhere.
No,
great.
And I agree. I loved the fact that robots could raid settlements. I still remember the first time it happened. I was setting up at Red Rocket. I was making that my base settlement, and I was just starting to build the what's it called? The thing to build the robots.
The workbench. Let's just call that. Yeah.
Yeah, the robot workbench. I had just got it set up, and I was working on modifying Pam, and all of a sudden I started hearing, some of the robots in the game have guns that are very they're very distinct. It doesn't sound like anything else in the game, so it's a robot. And I'm like, wait, are there robots nearby? What's going on? And then it's like, oh shit, they're attacking me. What the fuck? And it was it just felt different. It was new, and I liked it. It was something other than Raiders. It was something other than Super Mutants. Although, and I'd said this before, but I'll say it again. Fun little fact: I've never had a settlement attacked by Super Mutants.
Yeah, me neither. Interesting.
It was alright. I feel like getting attacked by gunners is more deadly.
Yeah, gunners and synths are probably the two worst. Because synths will just fucking pop up. Literally, I'm in your base killing you dudes.
It's just one of my settlers just die. Oh, he was a synth. Well, shit.
But no, I mean, all in all, I liked Automatron. If this is the direction Bethesda is going to go with DLC, my only advice and my only hope is that they take just a little bit more time with the next couple.
I mean,
and I think.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, go ahead. No, it's okay.
they've just announced at the time of this podcast the Workshop DLC release date, which is much earlier in comparison to when Automatron was announced. Automatron was released 27th or 28th of March.
I think it was the 20
something.
No, I think you're right.
And the Wasteland Workshop has been announced just what was it, a week from now?
It comes out the 12th, so 5 days.
So it looks like they're taking your advice. So I mean,
yeah, but it's a really smaller DLC compared
and there is
to
no story that we know of with the.
I don't really expect there to be. I expect this to be Fallout 4's equivalent of Hearthfire, which, unpopular opinion here. I actually liked Hearthfire.
Me too.
Again, because I'm all about immersion and being able to build things is immersive. Plus, I just cannot wait to send what's his face, the whiny little dude from Sanctuary. I can't wait to throw two. Yes, I can't wait to have him go up against 2 Alpha Deathclaws.
Well,
I just cannot wait.
Thing,
you can be with your son soon.
Another thing that I like about Automatron, there we go, I pronounced it right that time, is the gameplay is pretty fantastic. I mean, it brings a lot. There's a lot you can customize. I mean, weapons. The weapons you have to customize. The robots, you customize the shit out of them. I was surprised, like the legs, the leg armor, the leg upgrades, fucking what weapons. I mean, it's crazy to the extent of how you can customize them. Even more so with Automatron-based mods. I mean, firing mini nuke chain guns is a little bit OP, but it's quite fucking entertaining.
Well, and let's not forget, you get the costume again, so that is cool. It was nice to see that come back. Well, not come back. It's a different costume, but it's a new armor. Like, it brought new stuff to the game, which is always fun. New weapons, new armor. I like that. I'm a collector whore, so.
I mean, I've built a 4-story house in Sanctuary. I micromanage the shit out of it. I've got to study. I've got to.
Me too. I can't help myself.
I mean, like I've got a kid's bedroom. So that's now deceased son.
Yep. It's yep, and that the funny thing is the percentage of my mods, 50% of my mods are designed towards building settlements or decorating them. So.
Well, I think this is
I'm right there with
segue into our next topic. Actually, it's a terrible segue, but anyway.
No, that was atrocious.
The
survival
mode, yes, sir. I haven't played it personally. I've been watching a lot of videos on it and just general opinions on the forum and YouTube. But I know Dingo has, and I'm pretty sure DK has too. So, what's the consensus?
Yep, I'll let DK go first. I talk too much.
Well, actually, I didn't play it yet because I have like mods and I don't want them to be disabled. So, yeah. But I've watched a lot of like videos and stuff, so I'm really, really looking forward to playing it.
Yep.
To like fuck some shit up.
Or get your shit fucked up. And what I will say is your faith is very well placed. I put about 3 to 4 hours into it, and it's brilliant. I love it. I think it is exactly it. Something DK and I have talked about before is it probably should have been included in the base game, but that's a debate for another time. But it's good. It brings a refreshing feel to Fallout 4. Like, it definitely, like, it lives up to its name, survival mode. It is all about survival of the fittest. Like, you have to, your typical play styles aren't going to work with this. You can't run and gun. You can't just simply stealth around. You really have to plan your character in advance, or you're gonna get fucked. I don't know if anyone's played some of the original Fallouts or the original Elder Scrolls, where if you picked the wrong starting perks, you could not get past certain points in the game. And Fallout 4 feels very reminiscent of that to me, because if you're not built right, I've brought this story up to these guys a couple times, but Corvega is I cannot get past Corvega. That shit wrecks me every time, and I built my character purely for long range stealth takedowns, and I have no close combat capabilities, and that is all Corvega is. It is all close quarter combat, and I fucking die in that situation because I didn't take the time to build my character properly.
I mean, from what we've seen, survival mode really encourages you to attack from a distance. To play sneaky, you've got to conserve your health. Stim packs aren't as useful as they used to be, and Rat Away and etc. aren't as useful.
No, because they all have detriment now.
Rat Away, I get dehydrated, and one of the problems that we've talked about in survival mode is you get dehydrated fucking all the time. You might as well just have
really easily.
I mean, at this point, you might as well just put an IV tube in your arm and be done with it. I mean, it's just it does need to be tweaked, but survival mode does reward long range engagements. But the problem is, obviously, you're playing in Boston and Massachusetts, a lot of suburban urban areas, and Corvega is a very tightly packed area. So, I mean, there are strategies to do it. You can sneak in, take some people out, run away for the night, but then you're not really gaining much, and it's risky too.
Yep.
Yeah, but most missions are already really close quarter,
exactly.
So
it definitely makes you work on building your character properly.
And power armor becomes more useful. It may be even essential.
Oh my god, power armor is fucking god. Like that's the thing. I had I kept hearing all these horror stories about Concord, about how horrible Concord was, but I snuck into Concord. Concord is that first part of it. You can do long range very easily. I had no problem with that. My build worked. Even whenever you get into the church, most of the baddies in there you can take down at range. And you go up, get the power armor. Once I was in that power armor, I mean, there was no challenge there whatsoever. I took out Concord in a couple minutes. The Deathclaw fight really was not that bad, because one thing that they did do well that I really like is the damage is increased on both sides. Yes, I die really easily, but my damage is more realistic. If I'm throwing, 255 millimeter rounds at you in a 30-second time period, you're gonna look like Swiss cheese. And the game reflects that. The survival mode reflects that. That Deathclaw went down like a bitch. It didn't even get to me.
I mean,
so
that's something that does become annoying when you're playing on the hard difficulties. Is I get more damage, which I'm fine with, but I inflict a lot less damage, like only inflict 25% of the damage I usually would, and that's something great that survival mode has changed. It makes you more deadly, but also much more likely to die.
Yep. The role-playing term is you're a glass cannon. You are very fragile, but you can deal damage, or vice versa. You can deal damage, but you are very fragile, so you have to take that into account playing it.
Well, the Division should take notes.
Yep. It should, but I mean, in summary, my opinion on survival mode, very well done. My only real gripes are they got to work on the timing of whenever you need to eat and stuff. And I think they need to tweak the save system a little bit. It's a little nerve-wracking to only be able to save when you sleep. And, after you spent 2 hours building up your settlement and then hiking into Corvega, it's really, really, really nerve-wracking to try and find a bed before you go after the raiders. So I'm hoping they look at some other ways to incorporate saves immersively. I mean, I feel like there are other ways they could do that.
A diary.
A diary, or maybe the old Silent Hill method, except instead of like the red journals are where you go to like one of the TVs and you save
or
there. And I mean, the fact of the matter is they already have that built in the game. Like whenever you're in the memory den in Kellogg's Memory and you go to leave it, how do you do it? You go through the TV. So why not have that as a way to save?
I mean, in the future, when obviously the beta mods are currently disabled, so you can't use some of the great mods out there, or some of the mods that would benefit you for survival. Like there's a sleeping bag mod that lets you carry a sleeping bag which has a certain amount of weight, and you can drop that down and sleep there. That'd be a great method possibly abuse in the future, but it's a good alternative for people who don't like the current save system in survival mode. Just something I want to quickly say is, I brought this up a few times now to the point where it's tedious saying it, but when you're the risk of bugs crashing the desktop in Fallout 4 isn't as high as other games, but it's still a risk. It's happened to me while I've been building a settlement up, not in survival mode, but just normal mode, and I've lost half an hour of building time. So with survival mode, since I have to sleep, I have to think more about it. If the game crashes, I'm totally fucked. I'm going to be pissed. And it could be a small, glaring issue for me.
I never had problems with crashing like that bad, so not such a big problem for me.
I'm sort of in between. I have crashing issues, but they tend to come from mods. So, but I can definitely understand Charles' anxiety over that. That's a very real fear. I mean, even if it's not a crash, if let's go back to looking at survival mode. Let's say that you spend 2 hours building up your settlement, and you leave, you forget to go sleep in a bed because let's face it, most of us don't sleep in the base game, unless we need it to be bright outside. We don't sleep, and you just go charging into Corvega or the power plant or something, and you die, and all of a sudden you are back 2.5 hours, and that is for me. I mean, I know a lot of gamers nowadays are still younger. They still have freedom of time. But like for me, I have a job. I admin on the site. I write. I have a wife and dogs. So losing 2.5 hours of time is I mean, it causes me physical pain. Like it's like, oh God, that. So it's actually, I was talking with a user about this on chat the other day. I do question the longevity of survival mode. I think it's definitely a mode that is going to appeal to the hardcore gamers. It's not going to appeal to casuals, I don't think, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's why there are, 5 other difficulty levels? That's not a problem. I think it's actually kind of a good thing that Bethesda is saying, we don't mind releasing this, even though it's only going to appeal to a portion of our users. It's cool that they are willing to, that they're not worried about building a product that is going to appeal to the lowest common denominator, if that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of like Dark Souls.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. And it's entirely optional. So if a player says, hey, I am a casual, I've got half an hour to play and I don't want to worry about resaving, then that's what normal mode's for, or easy mode, or however you play it. You can, hell, if you want to play it on base survival mode, whatever. But I like that Bethesda is saying, we don't have to make everything appeal to everyone.
Which is great.
They
don't do that in Dark Souls, so...
No, they definitely don't.
It's the opposite of the current trend of streamlining certain features. So I'm glad Bethesda's looked at it and said, we don't have to streamline everything. I'm not saying Bethesda majorly does streamline stuff, but obviously some things have. This is something that hardcore gamers or people who like getting their ass handed and actually enjoy. People who like a challenge.
Yep.
I mean, we don't need, as a game, I don't need everything handed to me. I like a challenge, I don't play a strategy game to just win.
Right.
I mean, I want the challenge.
Yep. And that's what I like about it, because Bethesda is saying, if you want to play to be a god, you can do it. If you want to play to get your ass handed to you 14 times in a row, you can play it. If you want to do something in between, you can play it. I mean, everyone knows I'm not the biggest fan of Todd Howard, but one thing that he said at the E3 presentation of Fallout 4 that does stand out is Bethesda is a company that is built on games that are all about player choice. And, it may not reflect itself in the role-playing elements in Fallout 4, but it definitely does in just the amount of choices you have in how you want to approach this game. And survival mode is just the next layer of that. And I applaud Bethesda for that.
Because it just works.
It just works. Motherfucking Todd Howard.
Now, I think we should introduce a new segment. How many swear words can we say in 10 seconds? Let's make it.
I'm too tired to do this.
Anyway, so we're just gonna. So what's the general consensus of? Well, we already have the general consensus. Sorry, what am I saying? So from what we said, I can reasonably say that we're all pretty happy about survival mode and what it has added and changed.
Yep.
So yeah, survival mode is a thumbs up. The Sugarbombed stopped. We're just gonna have a short intermission after the. It'll be instant break for you guys, but after the break, All Out, also known as Monte, will be joining us. So we'll be right back.
Folks, now here's a story about Minnie the Moocher. She was a red-hot hoochie coocher. She was the roughest, toughest rail, but Minnie had a heart as big as a hay whale. Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Back, and our new topic is No Man's Sky. So he was actually pretty keen for No Man's Sky?
That would be me.
Me too.
Very keen. I'm keen.
Okay, you're keen.
Keen AF.
This is hands down my, like, I really think it's going to be my game of the year. I hope it's going to be my game of the year. There have been so many great games so far in the last 6 months, but I really want something to fucking blow my socks off, and I think this is it.
Yeah, me too, kind of. I really hope that procedurally generated universe is actually like super awesome and super big and everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to depend a lot on keep going.
I was going to say, don't stop talking.
Yeah, me too.
Don't let me bully you around.
I mean, I am excited about the fact that everything's procedurally generated. I think it is going to make every experience in that game new and unique, and that to me is exciting. So many other games have really tried this, and in my experience, the only game I felt has even come close to this sort of scale was honestly Minecraft. Minecraft. I mean, look at it. It's a massively procedurally generated world. It's got infinite boundaries. Like, it's a similar idea. It's just ground based instead of being in space.
I mean, I think the success of this game is going to depend a lot on how deep it is. I mean, exploration people like myself and Dingo are probably going to love it because we like, just exploring and, open world shit. But to more people, if it's going to be like, known as a really good game to a lot of people, that's going to have, more stuff to it. Like, they talked about the languages and, interacting with NPCs. And I think they're keeping more of that under wraps. So if they have more systems, like, maybe something where you can, like, build a little base or, just more interactions with the environment, I think it'll be a really good game.
Well, and that's the impression that I get, is we are going to see a lot more of that. I think the one thing that we shouldn't really look for, at least that I've not seen, is a really detailed and cohesive story. I don't think we're going to have that.
Any story at all.
Well,
no, there's going to be some story.
I was going to say that. I mean, there's obviously something, because they're pointing you towards the center of the universe. That is, something is going to point you there, and they've got the what's it called? The Nexus, the cube that stores all the knowledge.
Yeah. And there's the different races and shit. So
yeah, so there's going to be at least something there. I think it's going to be handled more like, like Minecraft. Again, another perfect example. Minecraft has a loose story behind it. You really have to dig to find it, but there is a story there. I mean, they named an entire portion of the game The End. I mean, yes, there's a story there. I think No Man's Sky is going to be very similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to see how much uniqueness there is to all the procedurally generated worlds. I mean, we've only seen probably the smallest possible fraction of the different types of worlds.
Oh,
yeah. So if they're very unique and each one's different, and people enjoy discovering all these different things, then it'll probably be really successful.
I agree. I mean, honestly, part of what I'm excited for is just my understanding is that Nexus, whatever it's called, the library, any player can access that. So, All Out could be on the other fucking side of the galaxy exploring something. He discovers this really cool creature, scans it, puts it into the system, and while I myself may never get to see that creature, I can at least read about it and see it. And I think that's a really cool way to, like, share this stuff, because, they've said you are not likely to come across other players in this game.
Yeah.
It's just not.
So when I name my first planet Dingo's ass, then he'll be able to see it.
Oh God! And
Even though he might never get to visit Dingo's ass, but at least
I'll
he'll
still
get to
read
see
about
it.
it.
Yeah,
And
I like that.
That actually leads into a good discussion about this. One of the kind of negatives people have been bringing up about this game is its price point. No Man's Sky is an indie-built game. Yes, it's being advertised by Sony, but it is an indie-built game that is being sold for $60 out of the box. That is unheard of. Indies don't go that high.
But it doesn't look like an indie-built game
It
at all.
doesn't look like an indie-built game.
Wait, wasn't The Witness $60?
No, The Witness was $40, and that's you're jumping ahead of me. I'm getting to that. And you know, a lot of people are already going, well, this is an indie game. This is a game that's been built by like 11 people. Like, this is not okay. They should not ask this much money. And I'm fucking excited for the fact that it's $60. Like, for two main reasons.
That's bullshit.
I agree it's a bullshit reason, but I'm excited for two reasons. One, I'm hoping that the higher price point on an indie game is going to deter the trolls. I really hope that, you know, so I'm not going to run into, you know, all outs, you know, Dingo's ass 1, Dingo's butt 2, you know, fuck Dingo.
Oh, you will. I will make sure of it.
I will fucking report you for trolling, I swear to God. I'm really hoping that it deters trolls. That's my hope. The other thing...
hope it deters me.
It just won't deter you. Yeah, fuck you. The other thing that I'm really excited about, it has nothing to do with the game itself, but it has to do with... And this, I wish Mitch were here to help discuss this because this is his passion, but the idea that indie games are becoming legitimate. I mean, before 2015, you know, indie games were like the most expensive one was about, I think, $25. I think Darkest Dungeon is one of the most expensive indies at $25. You just, as an indie developer, you have a smaller, you're more niche, and so it's almost terrifying to ask for more money because there's that fear of turning away potential customers. But you know, we're starting to see a change in that trend. It started with The Witness earlier this year, which so far is my game of the year. I fucking love the game. You're talking a similar, I mean, not similar to No Man's Sky, but it's a small game. It's about maybe 5 to 6 hours long if you really charge through it. It's gorgeous. It's very well built, but it's not a huge game. And yet the selling price on it was $40 for an indie game. I mean, look, compare it to Minecraft again. Minecraft is an indie game that has almost infinite content, and it sells for what, $25, $26, something odd like that.
Yes.
And then you have this brand new puzzler game that's, you know, it's really good for 1 or 2 playthroughs, and that's it. And they want $40. And the thing is, it fucking sold. It did beautifully. It did so well that Jonathan Blow, the man who created it, is already developing his 3rd game. He said, you know, this did so well, I want to do another game, and that's exciting. And then No Man's Sky, you now have coming out at $60. It's this trend that we're starting to see in gaming where basically indie is disappearing. The term indie doesn't really apply anymore because these quote unquote indie games are becoming AAA, and that is a good thing. There's no need to differentiate. All we need to look at as players, as gamers, is this a good game? Is this a bad game? We don't need to look at, you know, was this produced by EA or Bethesda, or was it produced by some little company like Campo Santo or Hello Games? Like that. We don't need to look at AAA versus indie anymore, and that is very cool. You know, as a fan of indie gaming, I think it's awesome that we're going mainstream.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Because it means more resources for the developers. It means more fans getting their material. It's a good change, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a great change. And since we, like, seriously, people pay $60 for a Call of Duty game or an Assassin's Creed game, which is released like every year. Yep. I think $60, 60 euros for an indie game that is as vast as like No Man's Sky. I see no problem with that at all.
And that's what I really laugh whenever someone says, I'm not buying this because it's $60. My thought on that is, fine, more space for me to explore.
Yeah, and then he goes and buys Call of Duty. Seriously.
Hey, whatever. And that's the thing. Gaming is all about what you like. And if he likes Call of Duty, that is fine. I have no problem with that. Just don't rip on my game because you don't like the price on it.
Well, the only problem for this is, like I mentioned last time, Australians pay a shitload more because we have this mythical thing called the Australian tax. Because apparently games cost more to come here, even though they're digital. So if you pay $80, no, you don't even pay that. You pay $60 for
60.
60 for a new game. We usually pay $100.
Yeah.
And see that
Australian.
No, it gets better. $100 US dollars, which has to be converted.
That's bullshit.
Yep. So that's why I enjoy it. Sorry.
I was just going to say, so that works out to be what, like almost double, right?
It usually ends up 120, so yeah.
Yeah, which is just, that's crazy. It's absurd. I mean, because we talked about this last time, like $120, that's what I paid for the Pip-Boy edition of Fallout 4. Not the regular edition, but the fucking collectible edition.
And I paid, what was it, $220. I paid $220 for it.
Oh my god. So, and so that, I mean, Boomer brings up a really good point. Sorry, Charles brings up a really good point about this shift is that, oh fuck, now you're going to start to see these games that used to be really approachable, really affordable start to become the same price as a AAA game. And it's the other side of the coin, and that's the one time where I can hear the price argument and legitimately understand and empathize with that.
See, this is what drives me to those shady Eastern European CD key websites that DK runs. Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
But it's actually a lot cheaper to take the risk of potentially getting a dodgy CD key, because say I go to a random website, let's just call it Online Key Store, which is an actual website. I fucked up. But say I buy a game there, it's gonna be half the price, usually half the price of a game that I get on Steam. So it'd be cheaper to almost buy 2 keys from there and have one of them fuck up.
And the other one work perfectly fine.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's and it's well, and that actually, I don't think we really talked about this last time, but it brings up another interesting point about going back to The Witness and how it started to change the trend. Another interesting fact is the day that The Witness released, it surpassed all records for most downloaded file illegally. Like it just became one of the most downloaded games of all time overnight, partially because of this price increase. So that's and again, I'm not advocating for that. I actually am really upset that people did that because I want to see another Jonathan Blow game. His first game was brilliant. The Witness was brilliant. Like, I want to see a third. And if some people are not giving him money, he's not going to. But the other side of that coin is, you know, when you're fucking working minimum wage 60 hours a week and you're struggling just to pay rent and you want to get a brand new game and, oh, fuck, it's like Charles said, $120 damn dollars. Like, that's backbreaking. It's tough. So.
Yeah, I mean,
the trick is finding a compromise somewhere in here.
I mean, when I pirate a game, it's I use it to demo the game out. I don't keep it for 100 hours and play it 100 hours. I use it literally as a demo. I ethically pirate games. Movies, not so much, but games, I do. So
I think that no, that's okay. I was gonna say I think the game makers are actually starting to see that. I have noticed more recently we're seeing more and more of these demos or open betas before the game comes out, and I think that's a smart move because, you know, it's shifting players that might be strapped for money or just don't have ethics away from pirating, and they're going, okay, well, I got to play the game and I did like it enough. I think I will go out and actually buy it. This is fun enough for me to spend the money on. There's no longer that fear of, well, should I pirate this? No, it's okay, I got to demo it. I like it. Cool. Oh, I got to demo it. I didn't like it. I'm not buying it. Like that was me with The Division, which we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah. All games should have a demo, especially games from like EA or Ubisoft or.
Yeah. I mean,
They can
they're doing
afford
the
those
reskin.
guys.
I mean, no, I agree with you, DK. I absolutely agree, and especially with the major companies, like you said, like they can afford to do it. In fact, it would actually behoove them to do it because, I mean, from what I remember, it's been a little bit since I've read any statistics on this, but statistically speaking, companies do better when they release a demo beforehand. Look at Doom. Look at Doom. Oh my God, that game is getting so many pre-orders after they went with the beta because players fucking loved it.
Yeah, it looks epic. And you can like change the skins of your guns. That's like super important to me.
Actually, that does bring up an interesting topic that I will actually talk about next week. But anyway, I'm sorry about this, but I want to move on the topic.
That's okay.
So The Division, who here has actually played it? I know I haven't. I've just watched it. What about you, Dingo?
I played in the open beta. That is my experience. I've got about 6-7 hours total set.
Yourself, DK? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I played the open beta, the first one.
Yep.
Or was that the closed beta?
That was a closed beta, the first one.
Okay, so I played the closed beta.
So you played the real rough version.
Yeah, and it was actually kind of cool. If my PC wouldn't be so shitty.
I mean, that's kind of my opinion on it. It's nothing new. It's definitely fun. It's definitely, I don't think it's a bad game. It's not one I'm going to spend money on because I'm just not big into MMOs. I don't have a whole lot of fun with that. I actually spent most of my time playing the Division single player. Not that it has a single player in it. I just didn't play with any other players. When I did play with players, I actually had more fun on my own. Again, I just don't go for MMOs. But it didn't do anything groundbreaking, and I think that's what, for me, just kind of turned me away from it. It's not,
Yeah,
and
so,
it's not bad, but
yeah, I mean, I think the Division's like a really average game, like a 7.5 out of 10 probably if I had to give it a number. It doesn't do anything like really new or groundbreaking, but it's good at what it tries to do. I think it's really fun co-op. It's decent single player. The Dark Zone has balancing issues, but it's cool. It really nails the post-apocalyptic feel and immersion. But yeah, it's good for a new Ubisoft game, I guess.
Yeah, well, and I think that's one of the things I did like about it was it has. I mean, once upon a time, Ubisoft was. I mean, they made some of the greatest games.
Oh yeah, Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood.
I'm not into the AC stuff, but even if you go further back than that, like if you go to their older games, I love them. They were a great company, and then they got into this trend with Far Cry and Assassin's Creed to just start producing this. Exactly, that's it exactly. And I think the Division has shown that, they may not be quite over it because there's still some of that is there. They were lazy about some things, but it is a better game from Ubisoft. Yeah, it's a solid game. It works well. It's got fun mechanics. It's nothing special, but it works and it works well.
Yeah, but the problem for it is that Ubisoft has dug itself such a hole with all their shitty practices and mediocre games the past few years that people are in this attitude that they want to dislike their games, that they want them to be bad so they can shit on them. That's how I feel. So it's getting treated a bit unfairly, I think.
Well, and I agree. I don't disagree at all. I mean, it definitely. I honestly expect, and I know we're going to talk about Mass Effect Andromeda here in a bit, but I honestly expect we're going to get some of that with MEA just because it's published by EA. Yep. So we're going to hear, like, I feel like 3 got that. Mass Effect 3, I fucking love that game, but that game gets constantly ripped apart, and a lot of the time it's, what the reasoning is, because it's EA. Yeah. And it's, I entirely agree with you on that all out.
Well, mostly they dislike Mass Effect 3 because of the ending, don't they?
We're definitely going to get
from
into
what
this
I've
later.
heard.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're actually going to talk about Mass Effect in a bit. So
right.
That's okay.
I'm passionate about this issue. So,
Passionate? I see where this is going.
You and me both.
It's 1:30. I've had 3 glasses of bourbon. I'm allowed to be passionate.
Oh, now I know how to get... Never mind, I won't go there.
No, I've been secretly drinking while you've been talking.
There's nothing secret about it, man. We all know.
All right,
Anyway,
so,
the Division.
Yep.
First thing I did when I got to the Dark Zone, started killing people.
You went rogue immediately.
Immediately.
Oh,
like,
Dark, I
the
didn't know you
first
got a
thing,
Division.
through the door, I shot the first person that was standing next to me.
And
Oh, I
this
did
is where
that
he
too.
gets. This is where he gets the dark in DarkKitrist. So
Yeah. Oh, is that how you say that?
I actually say
Dark?
guitarist, like a guitar.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's how I said it.
guitar.
it,
Like, the name is, like, always taken, so I, like, just use the Slovenian version of guitar instead of,
Yeah.
like,
oh, that's what
guitar.
it means. Because it sounds very familiar to a piece of anatomy that I might start mispronouncing soon.
You're a bad person.
There's DarkKitrist.
Jeez.
Yeah, when I play CSGO, people, like, actually, like, start saying clitoris. Like,
I'm sorry.
for no apparent reason.
Oh, no apparent reason.
Wow, I'd never even thought of that, to be honest. I have a pretty... My mind's
Well,
in the
now you
gutter
have.
a lot.
I always made the guitar connection, so. Then again, I'm also used to seeing a picture of you with the guitar, so.
Dark
Oh, there you go.
DarkKitrist.
Anyway, so moving on to
Sorry.
something to actually talk about, you shits.
Hey, I didn't start...
All out, you're probably our resident expert on Division, so any concluding thoughts on it?
I mean, I think a lot of it's going to have to do with how they support it, how the DLCs are, how the active the online community is for it.
Well, and that
I mean,
part
I
seems to be really active so far.
Yeah, so far, but you don't know because, like with Star Wars Battlefront, that community dropped off the face of the cliff on PC after
It's
a
because that
couple
game
months.
sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It
it
was
didn't
the same.
suck, but the people who bought the, like, main game, well, decided not to buy the DLC, and
Well, because look at the DLC, they're giving away fucking like Greedo or whatever. Like, who the fuck wants him?
Literally, like one of the first characters you see die on screen in Star Wars.
Yeah, like
Good
what the fuck?
Good fucking job, DICE. Good job. And there it is.
Anyway,
I want to hate a gaming company, just like All Out said.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Battlefront was kind of a really, really, really mediocre game, so kind of justified there.
Yep. Well, and,
Yeah,
and it
Especially
fell,
compared to 2. Holy shit.
oh my god, yeah. Well, and it fell into the new trap, which is overhyping. I mean, I think Fallout 4 overhyped itself, but
Yeah, and I wrote a whole article about that.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think that it overhyped itself to the point that Battlefront did. Like Battlefront was like, we're going to be the game, the next big game. We're changing everything, and it was nothing new. It didn't
It was
work.
rough.
People didn't like it. It just
It was so obviously rushed and half-baked.
that's just it. That is just it. And it's really surprising because that's not what DICE does.
No.
yeah, but is it the fault of DICE? I
Yes.
kind of blame EA to a degree.
Like, the
I
core
understand.
gameplay
Speaking
of
of
Battlefront
EA,
itself is pretty good. But there's no depth. It's shallow as a puddle.
Yep.
Speaking of
Yep.
EA, that is actually a part of our next topic with...
Yeah.
Oh, what a great
Yeah.
segue.
That is a perfect segue.
Segue
Trying
of
to
the
segue
year.
5 minutes. The Mass Effect Andromeda leak.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
Whoop,
I
whoop, whoop.
I am so now again. I think something we need to point out. Framework mind here is the leaks were from, I believe, 2014. They were actually from the 2014 version of the game. So they weren't entirely up to date because already people were going, well, the graphics suck and blah blah blah. It's like, they're from 2014. You fuck, deal with it. But yeah, I was really excited when we saw them just because it's not showing anything super groundbreaking, but it's cool to see that it's being worked on. It makes it feel more real, and I don't know.
More
I'm
Mass
excited to check
Effect.
Jetpacks.
To explain
I
things-
just wanted to say jetpacks. Jetpacks
sorry.
make everything better.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the thing
Yep.
is, like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, could you imagine if like footage of Fallout 4 leaked like before it was announced? Like, that would have been so fucking like
Oh my
crazy.
God. Well,
Holy shit.
look at how people reacted to, what was it, Survivor 22, whatever. Like, people went fucking berserk, and it wasn't even
But if there's
real.
actual footage, holy shit.
Yeah.
Well, thinking back, Kotaku kind of did release the script, and it was kind of legit.
Well, it was legit.
For Fallout 4, yeah.
Yeah,
and
Fallout 4.
Brian Delaney sent it to Maddie.
But the thing is, it happened after the Fallout Survivor thing, so everyone was really like, no, this isn't real again. It can't be real again. Well, especially, sorry, I'm spitting on my computer now. Especially because
I actually thought it was real. So
see, I would admit I didn't, because of the voice protagonist. I did not think Bethesda was going to make that leap yet. Again, I'm glad they did. I really like it in the game, but that, to me right there, I was like, well, this is fake. There's no way this is real, especially after the Survivor. So good try, internet. You're not getting my hopes up. I'll wait for something real.
Yeah, that was funny when people were like, oh, they'll never do a voice protagonist. That's funny to think about that.
Well, and that wasn't the side I came from. Like, I firmly believe they were eventually going to move to voice protagonist. I just didn't think it was going to be there yet. But anyway, so back to Mass Effect. Yeah, we definitely got off topic.
Another great
subject. Sorry. To anyone who hasn't actually seen the leaks, this is actually pre-alpha footage. It's actually showing off gameplay and graphical concepts instead of story, missions, etc. It does show off some characters, but nothing too juicy, I guess. What it does show is... sorry.
Krogan and, like...
I was going to say, we just see... Yeah, we see Krogans and humans, and that's it. And it's cool. I mean, I'm happy. I love the Krogans. They're one of my favorite races, so I'm excited that they're back. But, yeah, it did not really touch on much story-wise. But I'm sorry, go ahead, Boom.
What it does show us is a few new gameplay concepts. For example, I'm not going to say jetpacks, because we went over this last time. Jump packs.
Jump.
Did somebody say jetpacks?
So yeah, in this, the main character, the player character, uses a jump pack to get from point A to point B, basically. It's not linear in how the jump pack is used. He just presses a button and uses it, basically. The rest of the trailer mainly shows off graphical effects like explosions, gases, etc. Dingo, I know you want to say something. Just go for it.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were done. I am just... It really was just eye candy, and you know what? That's fucking okay. I am just happy to see something. I have been torn up ever since they announced that they were pushing it back, and I know it's a good thing. Pushing back is a good thing. It gives them time to develop it. I was so adamant that they weren't going to push it back, and it was going to come out this winter, and I was going to be fucking happy. And I've had a hard time admitting I was wrong.
Me too. I'm in the same boat.
You know what, Dingo? That could be a good discussion, actually. I want to get your take on it real quick. No, no. I mean, you're always wrong, but like the difference between like Bethesda's marketing style, where they don't announce anything and they don't say they're working on what they're making, versus like BioWare, where they say 3 years in advance we're working on Mass Effect 4, then they dribble out shit. Like which do you prefer?
Honestly, they're each kind of fun. Overall, I think I tend to prefer BioWare's approach because I don't get overhyped. Like with Fallout 4, I was definitely I mean, dude, I wrote 101 days worth of articles building up to that. I mean, who in their fucking right mind, who in their sane mind does that?
No one.
Like, exactly. I was so fucking hyped up for that, and I mean, it was inevitable. It wouldn't have mattered if that game was a masterpiece. I was going to be let down. In hindsight, I see that. With Mass Effect, I realize it's a slow grind over the course of a couple years, but they give us material. I remember the build up to 3, and it was perfect every time you get. Or I'm sorry, with 2. 2 was, they took a really long time to release 2, and it was just every month you'd see a new character bio, and you'd see a little more of the game, and it was actually really cool. Like what Bethesda did in the last month before Fallout 4, where we got like a new video every couple days. Like BioWare does that over the course of like a year, and it feels less rushed and more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
it feels to me it feels more coherent in the end.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I mean, of course, when you don't hear anything and you don't know whether it's being worked on for sure, you know, you're angry, you're anxious, and you want to, you know, see something. But Bethesda is so great at making those moments, like when when they first tweeted out that one tweet, it was like, "Please stand by." Like, I had tears rolling down my face.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you go to B3, and you have this big event, and it's just such a memorable moment. Even if the game wasn't the greatest thing ever, that's still a very memorable moment.
Yeah, I think that's like awake a big thing. Whole night.
Yep. And it's exciting. That stuff is exciting. But here's what's sad about
that. But the problem is it does get you overhyped, which I agree with.
Yep. And here's the sad thing about it. For me, the E3 reveal and the standby tweet stand out more in my mind than any moment in the game.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by they overhype it. They build it up too much. And again, I'm not coming down on Fallout 4. I liked the game. You guys know I rated it lower than I did a lot of other games, but it still was a positive rating.
Yeah.
The nice thing about
the
nice thing about BioWare's approach is, you know, while the build up to it may not be quite as memorable, we may not have as much fun with it. When I play that game, it's gonna fucking stick with me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of agree because I think the journey beat the destination for me with Fallout 4. Mm-hmm. But that's not just on Bethesda. That's because I made, you know, this Twitter and, you know, made Sugarbombed and met all these great people. But that's
and like I said, it's not a bad thing. Like I'm so many good things came out of Fallout 4. Primarily this. I mean, Sugarbombed, the podcast, meeting you guys, like all of it. I fucking love it. It's literally been. You know, I'm a fucking 30-year-old dude. This is something that for me is just a blast. Like, it makes me feel young again. So,
fuck, you're old, man.
Grandpa Dingo.
Yeah. Us whippersnappers.
Fuck all y'all.
Also,
get off of my lawn.
I will beat you with my cane.
I'm gonna take you to the vent and put you down. I'm sorry, that's gonna be. Yeah.
I don't die. We all know that. So anyway, going back to Mass Effect. So we talked about the leaks, but I think something else that we need to bring up is the I don't want to call them leaked documents, but the survey review that's been going, or the survey email that's been going around that talked a little bit more, and it did cover some of the story stuff. And what I think was really interesting in that is they talk about how the new Mass Effect, the Andromeda Galaxy, it's going to be, well, I think they said 4 or 5 times the size of the previous games, which is, I mean, that's exciting. That is, it's beautiful. I'm really, really hyped. Here we go again. I'm really, really hyped to be able to explore that much. A lot of people who have read what I've written about Fallout and other games know that one of the biggest things I play games for, I love the exploration. That's why my favorite games are Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Minecraft, like shit where I can just explore for hours.
And that's something that's going to be exciting in Mass Effect. They're bringing back the Mako, bringing it back to Mass Effect 1 level.
I fucking love the Mako.
I hated it.
Love it.
I hated it in 1.
I loved it. I mean, I was a master at it. I mean, no mountain was high enough that I couldn't use my Mako.
Ain't no mountain high.
Oh my god, the fucking physics on that thing. Thank you for that.
Oh,
DK.
Lord.
The fucking physics on the Mako killed it. I love the concept. I love that it became a running joke throughout the series. But I'm really excited to see it come back. Like, just that throwback to Mass Effect 1 is... it's beautiful.
I mean, Mass Effect 1...
I like the... Yeah, go.
Okay, I'll quickly go. Mass Effect 1's exploration was great, kind of. Initially, it was pretty fun, but the worlds are pretty damn similar. Like I said last time, you have mountains to the right and mountains to the left. A slight hilly area to the north with more hills and a valley. Every single map. And it just got tedious. I did a playthrough of it, and it's so fucking tedious compared to Mass Effect 2. But I still enjoy the exploration.
Yep. And I think we talked about this before. Like, I like the exploration they tried to do in 1. I still like the compromise they came up with in 2 and 3, where you just scan the planet. And I think in MEA, if we see something like that, that's kind of a compromise, that's going to be perfect. I think something in between the two will just be...
Yeah, that would be great. Because just pressing on a planet and, like, sending those probes on it, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
That was kind of cheap for me personally. I like exploring with the Mako. It was awesome.
Well, and that's the one DLC they released kind of addressed that. They realized that their players were missing that, and it was it's the Hammerhead. I forget what the DLC is.
Right.
Firestorm, Firewalker. The Firewalker DLC introduced the Hammerhead, and it sort of let us do that on a couple planets, and it was, for such a small DLC, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. But no, I absolutely hear you, and I think that, I mean, they're really hinting that they're going exploration heavy with this new game. It really sounds like it's going to be hardcore colonialization. Is that a word? Colonialism? There we go. That's the word.
Yeah.
And hey, you say it 4 times fast. But yeah, exactly. Colonialization. I just made a word up. You all love it. But I think that we're going to have that exploration back. Just the fact that they're bringing the Mako back tells me we're going to have planet-based exploration again.
Yeah, and it's definitely something to get excited for. I mean, I love Mass Effect 2. I love the gameplay. I miss my old unlimited firing sniper rifles and shit that would just cool down. I actually enjoyed that.
I hated it.
But anyway, I mean, like, hopefully they get the best of the Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 trilogy and integrate it, because if we... sorry, let's quickly finish this.
Yeah.
If we get the best RPG elements, which were in Mass Effect 1, we get the gameplay of Mass Effect 3, and the kind of, I guess you could say, drama of Mass Effect 2, then we have the perfect game.
The ending of Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, that was
great.
That wouldn't have happened if EA didn't push them to release it early. Yep.
And I agree. And here's the thing, and I know, Boomer, you and I have talked about this before, but my feeling on the Mass Effect 3 ending is it was good. I really enjoyed it. They fit. The only thing I wish is that we had more endings, kind of like how Fallout does it, where you've got a couple different slides that if you did this, you got this.
Or how
slide.
I used to do it in New Vegas.
Well, that's true. 4 didn't do it. But with New Vegas or with 3, it talks about different things that happen based on your choices. I would have liked to have seen that in 3. I'm okay with the endings overall as themselves. I think a little more detail would have been nice.
I'm still pretty negative towards them, just because I wanted to see what happens to my friends who I've made. What these minor or somewhat more important decisions from Mass Effect 1 and 2 carry on? How do they shape the universe? And it doesn't really do anything besides green blinding light, red blinding light, blue blinding light. I mean, the endings were interesting, like Shepard possibly surviving, integration of AI, not AI, what do you call it? Artificial and what's the word I'm looking for? Organic
AI.
life. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Artificial and organic life. And yeah, I mean, they had some interesting plots, but they didn't fully develop them. And we know that Mass Effect Andromeda will actually have the time, hopefully, to develop this now they've delayed the game. So hopefully we can get a better.
Well, I mean, they've likely been has Bio, and I'm out of the loop a little bit on this, but has BioWare released anything since Mass Effect 3?
Dragon Age Inquisition, which is.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So they had Dragon Age Inquisition, which came out in 2014. It's been out for 2 years now, right?
Yep.
Just about. Okay. So 2 years ago, and they tend to take a similar approach to what Bethesda does. So that at least some of them have been working on it for even longer than 2 years. So 2 years plus whatever time they put into it before, plus all of 2015, and that's a pretty good turnaround time for what BioWare has been known to do. Again, since that they've been building the skeleton of this since 3 came out, like they've talked about that they kind of jumped right into it. They had plans right off, right out of the gate. As soon as 3 released, they were ready to build the story for 4, and so, I mean, 3 came out in what, 2013?
Yeah.
No, it was early, wasn't it?
12?
Yeah,
wasn't too much.
No, it wasn't.
Wait,
I'm
no,
pretty wrong, yeah.
you're right, because it came out not too long after Skyrim. You're right.
Oh, because Mass Effect 2 came out in
2012.
2010? Yeah, so
Wow.
2012, yeah.
Yep, 2012. I just got my case. But yeah, so I mean, you're talking 4.5 years to develop a game, and that's well within BioWare's capacity.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
And they're a decent-sized team compared to, say, Bethesda, which is a relatively small team by game development standards. So
How big is BioWare? I didn't think they were that big.
When I mean slightly bigger, I really mean slightly, like another 20, 30 people.
Okay, but then they also have,
But they also
but they
have I believe they have 2 or 3 studios.
Yeah, and they also have the support of EA for the publishing. They don't have to handle the publishing themselves. They just have to develop it.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, but Bethesda Game Studios is like just a studio. They have like the backing of ZeniMax or...
Well, I mean, no one has the backing of ZeniMax except lawyers, but...
Yeah.
Whoops, did I say that out loud?
Oh, speaking of lawyers, Brian Fargo was low-key roasting them today about the names, the scrolls or whatever. Wasteland Workshop.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because, he uses Wasteland in the title. And Bethesda sued,
and the way they
sued Mojang over using scrolls in the title, so...
I mean, scrolls, they kind of had a precedent, but Wasteland, not so much.
No, it's not them saying that. It's Brian Fargo of In Exile, who created Fallout, saying that kind of as a joke, but it's kind of ironic.
You get why, because he developed the game Wasteland. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the actual game Wasteland, which was the spiritual predecessor to Fallout.
Back in 1989 or whatever.
Yep.
Anyway, so we're just gonna have a quick intermission and make sure I didn't fuck up another recording. For anyone who doesn't know, I've officially fucked up 2 recordings in the past week.
Going for 3.
Going for 3.
We're actually trying to find the most efficient way to fire Boomer.
Yep.
Okay.
And this is it.
Okay.
Bye.
We'll be back in 1 second.
Now she messed around with a bloke named Smokey. She loved him though he was cocky. He took her down to Chinatown. He showed her how to kick the gong around. Showed her how to kick the gong around.
Okay, so we're back and we're discussing what we felt was missing from Fallout 4. So who wants to start?
I just want to point out that I love the fact that you rehearsed that question about 3 times and you still fucked it up. No, I mean, I'll start. What I felt was missing from Fallout 4, the biggest thing to me was the sense of dimension to the NPCs. I feel like a good chunk of the NPCs, mostly the inconsequential ones, but some of the bigger ones, were just almost like they were rushed. There was no character to them except for... they suffer from DID distress, or DID symptom, damsel in distress symptom. And that's half the fucking people you come across. They can't think for themselves. They can't act for themselves. They are depending on you, the sole survivor, to fucking save their ass. Like, I think that's one of the things I liked about 3 is that, half the people you stumble across, the Brotherhood, the Enclave, it didn't matter. They were surviving. They were like, yeah, if you want to help, go for it. But if not, fuck off. We don't care. We're doing okay. There was very little of this, well, we need you to come save us, aside from that stupid-ass scene where your dad needs you to go clear out, Project Purity of super mutants. Because, the 19-year-old who just walked out of the vault is the most militant person you have. But 4 definitely had that. Like, it was... So many of the characters they're just so two-dimensional. And... I don't know, it just drove me nuts. I mean, some of the characters are very well developed. I mean, a lot of the companions are great. I love Nick. I love Piper. But even there, I felt that Bethesda dropped the ball. There is... And Nick is probably a good example of where I'm wrong, because I have since learned that he has a lot of development going on. And then I also have to keep in mind Far Harbor is going to focus on him as well. So Nick I can set aside, but look at Piper. We get a brief backstory. We see her character, but it never goes anywhere. We know she is this this hard-hitting reporter. She really likes to dig into her stories, but once she joins up with the sole survivor and does her interview, nothing happens. That's the end of it. She doesn't pursue any stories. Like, I think it would have been really cool to have a quest or a series of quests focusing on going out and solving, or not solving, but like digging in and finding these stories that actually in some way positively impact Diamond City or the Commonwealth. Like, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I actually thought like her quest line is gonna lead to some changes in Diamond City. I really, really thought something more was gonna happen, but it never did.
Yep, and again, it's tough because Bethesda does such a great job of pulling the wool over our eyes because she's still a good companion. She's fun to interact with. You know, the little bit of a story you do get from her is good. It's great backstory, and we get caught up in that. But then when we stop and think about it, or at least whenever I did, it was like, oh, well, fuck, where's the rest of the story? Preston Garvey's another great example. You know, you hear a little bit about Quincy. Like, I was really expecting a revenge mission.
Actually, speaking of Quincy, if you go back there, you can find out how this all happened to begin with, how the Minutemen got fucked up.
Which is, again, it's beautiful. I love that you can do that. But there should have been a revenge mission. Why didn't we go after, what's his fuck?
Yeah. I mean, you can kill him, but Preston isn't involved. So
yeah, it would, honestly, what they really could have done was kind of copycat, take one more thing from Mass Effect. Come on, you guys, you took the voice protagonist, go a step further. Take the companion quests. I mean, the companion quests are one of the greatest things in Mass Effect. They could have done that so easily.
New Vegas had like companion quests, so
they were great.
No, well,
why did they leave them out?
Companion quests are just,
Yeah, I mean, quality. Fallout 4 has some, but not enough.
Mixes
and not
good,
all
cases
characters do.
Right.
Yeah, and so for me, that is what is really missing was the what happens
probably
is when
the worst example of that is with the Strong. That was a missed opportunity.
Like there's nothing. Strong's just like you, human. Yeah. I like you. Okay.
Well, he talks about the milky human kindness or whatever, but he can never, try and find that or whatever.
Well, that's a vague reference to Mad Max. It's an Easter egg.
Oh.
But I mean, yeah, it's what they do. What Bethesda does is, or what all the NPCs in the game do is, it's as soon as they meet the sole survivor, development stops. They just stagnate. That's the end for them. It's literally like meeting your character is fucking death for them because they are never going to develop further. Yeah. They are stuck at whatever point you meet them in. Like name one character who develops further.
Yeah.
Aside from the protagonist.
And that's kind of the main thing that I think is missing is that there aren't enough unique interactions with NPCs. Like, you can't really talk to as many people in the ways you can in 3 and New Vegas. And you can't just ask about all these things, and that's kind of with the dialogue wheel and shit, but that's probably the biggest thing.
And I mean, sorry, go ahead, TK.
Yeah, the problem with the interactions is probably because the voice protagonists. Because you have a voice protagonist, you need to voice every interaction. So adding more unique interactions would make it seriously larger than it is.
That's fine. I'm okay with that. Take another 2 years. If it's going to make it a better game, take 2 more years. And do what BioWare does and tease us for 2 years. I don't fucking care. If it would have been a better game, I would have waited. I would have happily waited
me too.
2 more years.
Yeah, me too.
It's just not how they do things. Not feasible
I know.
for them. Yeah.
Fucking Todd Howard. I have an article coming out about that eventually.
Uh-oh. You better watch out.
The false god.
But you have to admit,
oh my god.
God.
Seriously?
I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm just putting it out there. Anyway,
I kind of like Pete. I kind of like Pete more than
Godfather Pete.
Yeah, Godfather Pete.
That was one of my favorite Fallout 4 memes. Was the Godfather Pete?
Yeah, I had that made.
That was beautiful. I love it.
Shout out to all the Daedalus for actually making it for me.
So what did you guys feel was missing from Fallout 4? I just ranted for 20 minutes.
What I did feel was missing was like I said a few days ago, they have a lot of new concepts they're trying to bring into the game, but they don't develop them. They develop them moderately, but not sufficiently. They don't take giant leaps. Dialogue was a giant leap, but not well developed in the best way. But let's look at settlements, right? They've been progressing with settlements since Half-Fire, when they started with modular buildings.
You can even go back to Morrowind. Morrowind had a settlement system.
Oh, it did?
Yeah. It was each of the houses had a settlement.
Oh, right, yep. But anyway, sorry. They did take a leap in going with a settlement system, but they could have taken it further. Maybe that's not the best example. Someone give me an example here.
No, I mean, I think you're absolutely right with the settlement system. They could have done more.
Actually, it was, like they said, it was a last spur-of-the-minute thing they actually put on. And it is... I wouldn't. People will argue with me when I say this, but it's one of my favorite features in the game, even though it can be very, very tedious. It can be extremely tedious, but I enjoy it. And
yeah, I mean, it was just kind of just really just skeletal. Like, it wasn't very deep.
I mean, mods have improved it dramatically, but I mean, it is also semi-broken. It is buggy in quite a few ways.
Yeah, it's quite broken.
And I mean,
I've put in like 100 hours, or probably more. But it really pisses me off that like their happiness falls down all the time, even though they have like everything.
Yep.
And people die for no apparent reason. Seriously, they should have like put more effort in it, especially since it was like a big segment in E3, and they really sold it to us. And then it was like seriously broken.
I mean, with mods, it is extremely better. Obviously, they limited the settlement size because they don't want people, especially on consoles, pushing their consoles too far. But, I mean, not allowing the PC gamers to say, okay, I know my PC's limits, I can just maybe give me a slider setting, for example. But, you know, they decided, fuck that, you get a limit. It means that everything, if you use mods, they're going to be more buggy than they have to be. If that makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So what about everyone else? What do they think was needed? DK?
Well, one thing I really missed from the game was, like, personally, more Ron Perlman. I seriously didn't expect them to not use his voice for War Never Changes. That kind of made me cry.
Yeah, that honestly sucked.
I mean, I enjoyed the intro quite a lot, but...
Yeah, me too, but it's not the same. I know they used him as a news anchor or whatever it was, but seriously, his voice and War Never Changes.
I mean, what they could have done
kind of broke my heart.
That was the first Fallout game? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
They could have included him at the end, saying War Never Changes, then the player does his own dialogue thing.
Yep.
No.
Yep, I was saying the thing with it is that is the first Fallout game where he does not do that. And that's huge. I mean, that is a
damn shame.
A lot of firsts in Fallout 4.
They could have done that. Come
Brian
on.
does a good job, but...
Yep. Well, and I kind of got the impression that he wasn't very happy about that.
Yeah.
So...
He didn't really promote the game at all, or really say
Exactly.
So, Monte, what do you have to do? Do you have anything that you wish was in Fallout 4 or wasn't developed enough? No,
I think we lost Monte.
Yeah, he's dead. Okay, well, that's perfect, because we can let him talk about the next topic.
Exactly. This is not his topic at all.
Yeah. Sugarbombed 2.0.
You're fucking drunk.
So Sugarbombed 2.0, the users kind of want to know what's happening. So since we have 3 admins, one of which who is KIA right now, what is new about 2.0? Is it just a rehash or what?
yeah, fuck it, we don't like our users. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I'll let DK and Monte hit this because DK is one of our developers, so he's literally hands-on developing it, and Monte is one of our leading ideologists. He's helping us come up with a lot of the features. He's listening to the users and promoting them, so I'll let them go.
Yeah, well, Allout's not here, for real. Anyway, well, the big part of Sugarbombed 2.0 is like the design and the feel of the site, to bring it more of a modern feel, even though it like already is modern, but still a better design, and everything.
A more friendly
So yeah,
kind of UI.
yeah, more friendly. Even though we're still testing themes and styles and stuff, but yeah, I think we've already decided on a general style, so we'll be developing that, and additionally to that, we'll add functionality, like connecting to Steam and stuff. All that things will be in Sugarbombed 2.0, and I don't know, more stability, which is important.
Yeah.
Even though we're on a new server, still stuff can happen, so we hope to alleviate that once we switch to 2.0.
I mean, we obviously have a lot of changes planned. I'm not going to talk about personally, but Potato has a lot of stuff planned out that we do want to tell the users in the future. We're going to try and give you more reasons to stay at Sugarbombed besides the chat forum. We want you to get more actively involved, and we want to give you good reasons to get actively involved instead of just saying get on and post. So I mean,
yeah.
But really, the idea for 2.0 is to really do our best to integrate all aspects of Sugarbombed. So right now, the way the site stands, we have the forums, we have the chat, and then we have this outside media, and we have users who pretty much use them independently. I mean, you have some users who bridge those, but I mean, I'm a perfect example. I don't touch the social media side of it too much outside of Twitter. Whereas, we have a Reddit, we have Facebook pages for a number of games. And with 2.0, the goal is to take those and mesh them together, but not to do it in a way that forces a user to have to use all of these things that they may not want to, but in a way that makes them want to do it. I'm kind of rambling.
Personally, I can talk about the social media side of Reddit. We're still working on. We're just deciding on ideas. We can use it to be attractive to user bases. But social media, we're actively developing as we speak. It may not entirely seem like it, but we're developing ways to keep the user interested, competitions and rewards. So if you do join our social media, in the future, social media pages, we will give you rewards in the form of raffles and competitions. So we want to give users good reason to actually use our social media. We don't want to say just join up. We're going to give you good reasons. Alright, so I think we've run out of stuff to say about that topic.
I think so. I think a nice wrap up to it is just that it's going to we have listened to our users. We are going to take some of what our users said, some of what we have developed through surveys and research, and we are going to make the best site that we can.
All right, so to wrap this up, this has been the to be named Sugarbombed podcast.
Glucose overdose.
Yes.
Hosted by myself, Boomer, and my bottle of Jim Beam, by DarkKitrist, the Eastern European, on our website.
Hello.
And Dingo, the American. Alright, thank you for listening, and we'll hope to see you next time. Boomer signing off.
Bye.